Yes, we'll be reading books this week, and we'll show you some of the books, or introduce you some of the books we've read and which we can recommend. And there's been great books because they've like prompted a lot of conversations, and there are some of the topics we've been discovering. First one, Operation Exodus, talking about Aliyah as Jews going back home to Israel. And I won't spoil the story from you, but I do recommend it. Get it, read it, and also read like a lot of prophets talk about the stuff that they tell about in these books. Jeremiah, Isaiah, others.
Yeah, it's very interesting seeing becoming more aware of God's heart for Israel and what it is. God really spoke to me through that book about being aware of what God's heart is for Israel and the Jewish people, and ultimately that He is glorified through Israel. So it was really really cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Another book I've been reading quite recently is this one, The Lord of the Ring, which is a biography about Count von Zinzendorf. Cool name, and a pretty interesting guy, who basically was a count who lived in Herrnhut in Germany. I guess that's not how you pronounce it, but hey. And he was part of a renewal in the Moravian Brethrens, and he, 100 years of constant prayer is kind of what happened through what he did there and through what God did through him. So it was very interesting to read about his attitudes towards unity within the church, especially. It was quite refreshing to see someone that God used and started some kind of movement without ever becoming separated from anyone else, but he was always striving to be one with his brothers and sisters in Christ, whoever they might be.
And next one with the compelling title of "So You Don't Want to Go to Church Anymore." And John, how would you describe this book?
It's pretty good. I really enjoyed it. It was lots of very good thoughts. It's done in a way that it's kind of like a fictional story, but it's taken from a lot of life experiences, and I could identify with a lot of the things he goes through, basically to do with institutional church, and then things to do with house church, and basically about what it is to really follow Jesus, and not just go to church. That whole side. That sort of thing.
And we found this book because it was recommended at the back of the shack, which if you haven't read, find it, read it, even if you never read books.
And finally, the book I'm currently reading is one called The Irresistible Revolution,
which is impossible to pronounce for him.
Yeah, which is again very much about how we can follow Jesus and what that really means is it's been very challenging to read, to do with our attitudes towards the poor and the broken, because sometimes we think like we'll try and help people, but we kind of fail to think Jesus was essentially homeless. He lived as a poor person, and he calls us to give up everything to follow him. That doesn't always practically mean giving up all our money, but it means being willing to lay down everything to follow him, which I think is not always stressed in modern Christianity, perhaps.
And the last book on the list has been Bible in different translations and in different languages, which is always fun. If you haven't got one, get it as well.
Yeah, it's a good book.
The book of the books.
Okay, and then we've been spending a lot of time in prayer this week. Obviously, having a prayer room in this building has been really, really awesome to have a place that we can just kind of walk into, and the presence of God is really, really strong there. It's quite an easy place to pray, I'll be honest. There are some places that are harder to pray than this, and it's been really, really good just spending time in God's presence, and also trying to understand what it is to pray, not just words. Again, with all the stuff to do with justice, like how we can become answers to our prayers, and how we can live out our prayers is quite an interesting one.
Amen to that, brother. Well preached. We are finishing this episode now, but come back soon to see the next one, where we're going to introduce this prayer house to you, and also show some things that are happening in the house, and introduce you to some of our friends. Stay tuned.
Moi moi. Cut.